The internet you are using today is not the same as it used to be, even if it still feels familiar on the surface at first glance. But have you actually noticed how much it has changed over time without making it obvious? Right now, you open your phone, your laptop, or your TV, and you scroll or watch content without thinking too much about it. But when was the last time you actively searched for something instead of just consuming what appeared in front of you? It feels natural, almost effortless, like everything is exactly where it should be at the right moment. But are you really choosing what you see, or is it being selected and delivered to you without you noticing? Because something fundamental has shifted in how the internet works, and most people haven't fully realized it yet. And once you start to notice it, the way you experience everything online begins to change completely. There was a time when using the internet felt simple, direct, and completely under your control in a very natural way. You would open a browser, type exactly what you were looking for, and choose where to go next without distractions. Every action started with you, and every result depended on the decisions you made along the way. If you wanted information, you searched for it, and then you explored it step by step at your own pace. There were no endless feeds, no constant recommendations, and no content appearing without intention. But have you noticed how different that feels compared to how you use the internet today? Back then, you were actively navigating the internet instead of just consuming what appeared in front of you. And that difference is more important than it might seem at first when you really think about it. But today, the way you use the internet has changed in a much deeper way than it first appears on the surface. You no longer need to search for everything manually, because content now arrives directly in front of you without effort. You open an app, and instantly there is something to watch, read, or interact with almost immediately. And most of the time, you don't even question where that content is coming from or why it is there. But have you noticed how rarely you actually decide what to look for compared to how it used to be? Instead of navigating the internet step by step,
I used to look for things online. Now it just feels like everything is already there before I even think about it.
you are now scrolling through what is constantly presented to you. And the more you use it, the more it seems to adapt, respond, and change based on your behavior. Because the internet is no longer just something you explore, it is something that is continuously shaping itself around you. And the most interesting part is that this shift did not happen suddenly or in a way that felt obvious at the moment. It happened gradually, through small changes that slowly became part of your daily routine over time. At first, these changes felt like improvements, making everything easier, faster, and more convenient to use. And because of that, you didn't question them or stop to think about what was really happening underneath. But have you noticed how natural it now feels to just open something and start consuming whatever appears? There is no clear decision, no search, and no defined starting point like there used to be before. And over time, this becomes the default way of using the internet without you even realizing it. Because the biggest changes are often the ones that happen quietly, until they are already completely normal. So what is actually happening behind all of this? And why does it feel so different now compared to before? The internet is no longer something you fully control in the same way as you used to. Instead of you actively choosing what to see, systems are constantly selecting and delivering content to you in real time. And the more you interact with it, the more it learns, adapts, and adjusts itself to your behavior. But have you noticed how rarely you stop that flow or question what is being shown to you?
Sometimes it feels like I don't choose what I see anymore. It just keeps coming.
Everything is designed to keep you engaged, moving smoothly from one piece of content to the next without effort. And over time, That continuous flow becomes something you stop noticing completely in your daily use. Because the control has not disappeared, it has simply shifted in a way that is much harder to see. And this is where the change starts to become more noticeable, even if it still feels subtle at first in your daily routine. Because the problem is not just how the internet has changed, but how your behavior has slowly changed with it. You spend more time scrolling, consuming, and moving through content without making clear or intentional decisions. And the line between choosing and simply following what appears starts to blur more and more over time. But have you noticed how difficult it is to stop once you start, even when you didn't plan to stay? What feels like a simple action can quickly turn into something that keeps you engaged much longer than expected. And over time, this creates a kind of dependence that doesn't feel obvious while it's happening. Because the control is no longer something you actively use, it is something you slowly give away without realizing it. And the most important thing to understand is that this is not something that only affects you personally. It is happening across different people, different lifestyles, and completely different ways of using technology. From students and professionals to casual users and content creators, the same pattern is starting to appear. People are spending more time consuming, scrolling, and interacting without actively choosing what to see. But have you noticed how similar everyone's behavior starts to look over time? Even in different environments, the way people use the internet is becoming more and more alike. And this is not a coincidence. It is the result of systems shaping how content is delivered to everyone.
It's not just me. Everyone I know uses it the same way now. You just open something and it pulls you in.
Because this is not just a personal habit, it is a global shift happening all at once. And this is where everything starts to move in a direction that feels even less visible, but much more powerful. The internet is becoming more automatic, more predictive, and less dependent on your direct input. Instead of you searching, deciding, and navigating, systems will anticipate what you want before you even think about it. And that shift will make everything feel faster, smoother, and more effortless than ever before. But have you considered what happens when you no longer need to actively choose anything at all? The experience becomes more personalized, but also more controlled at the same time. And the more invisible this process becomes, the harder it is to notice how much has actually changed. Because the future of the internet is not just about what you see, it is about how little you need to do to see it. What makes this even more important is that this is not something far in the future that will take years to arrive. It is already happening right now, in the way you use the internet every single day without noticing. The shift is not something you will suddenly recognize one day, because it has quietly become part of your routine. And the more you use it, the more natural it feels, even if it works very differently from how it used to. But have you realized how little effort it now takes to stay connected and keep consuming content continuously? What once required intention and decision now happens almost automatically without you thinking about it.
I didn't really notice it changing, but now it feels like everything I see is already decided for me.
And that is exactly why this change is so difficult to recognize while it is happening. Because by the time you finally notice it, it has already become normal.
I still use the internet every day, and it just doesn't feel like I'm the one in control anymore.
At the beginning, this might have felt like a small change, something subtle that didn't seem very important at the time. But the truth is, it has already reshaped the way you experience the internet every single day without you noticing. What once required intention, choice, and direction has slowly turned into something automatic and continuous. And over time, That shift changes not just what you see, but how you interact with everything online. Your experience feels easier, faster, and more seamless than ever before in a way that feels natural. But at the same time, it becomes harder to see where your decisions end and where the system begins. And that is the part most people never fully realize until they actually stop and think about it. Because this is not the internet you used to know, and it is not going back.